Okay, parents, let's be real. Having kids is hard. You can do everything to nurture them, and then nature comes in like a hurricane and is like, nah, I'ma F things up the way I want. And if you're thinking, that also sounds like my partner sometimes, yeah, we're going there, then you're not alone. In fact, what we're about to tell you will apply to all relationships in your life.
So, whether or not you have children, we'll reveal how you can recognize and communicate love in a way that your recipient will understand it. We are Kalina and Tapis, this is Iwi Sleep, and you're about to be mind blown by the 5 love languages of children, The Secret to Loving Children Effectively by Gary Chapman and Ross Campbell.
Okay, so let's preface a few things first. If you've heard of the 5 love languages, oh, not this one, you'll know it's a very popular book, especially among couples. This original 5 love languages book had helped so many marriages that Chapman was bombarded to write a book specifically for meeting the emotional needs of children. Hence, the 5 love languages of children. And what that means is this book is not just for parents. Throughout this summary, we'll use the term parents for simplicity, but we're talking to parents, we're talking to teachers, we're talking to anyone who loves and works with children. We'll also use he and she references interchangeably so you can apply it to your own child. Then we'll go through and explain the 5 love languages and help you identify which is your child's primary love language. But keep this very important thought throughout this summary. The primary language is how your child will best feel loved, but the other 4 languages are also important and required to supplement. This means you'll have to practice all 5 love languages to be sure your child will sense your love. Yeah, throw them all in and mix it in there like a love smoothie. And it might be helpful to be prepared with a pen and paper. There will be moments where you say, gee golly, that's my child. Maybe not quite like that, but you want to jot a few things down. Sound good? Let's get to it.
Okay, so I know electric cars are all the rage now, but if you're a normal gas guzzler like me, here's a simple concept that might seem familiar: filling the emotional tank. Every child has an emotional tank that controls their emotional strength. So, what do we fill these tiny human feeling tanks with? We fill it with unconditional love. Unconditional love accepts and affirms a child for who he is, not for what he does. And bonus points, unconditional love prevents problems like resentment, feeling of being unloved, guilt, fear, and insecurity. Unfortunately, some parents display a love that is conditional, depending on something other than their children just being. Conditional love is based on performance. It's training techniques that offer gifts, rewards, and privileges when a child behaves or performs in a desired way. But unconditional love means you give and show love even when your child's behavior is poor. Even when they poop their pants or draw on the walls, you show them love. Now, some parents think this is permissive. It's really not. It's doing first things first. A child with a full tank of love is much more responsive to parental guidance. In other words, full tank, less tantrums. Score. You may also hear that unconditional love can lead to spoiling a child. Come on, kids aren't vegetables. This is a huge misconception. Appropriate unconditional love can never be too much. But there are rotten vegetable kids that run around, and they are usually spoiled by the lack of guidance or the parents providing the wrong type of love with the wrong guidance. All that rotten tomato really needs is love and attention from their parents. So, just like a car that needs fuel to run, a child needs love to thrive. So make sure the fuel is unconditional and make sure it's refilled before it runs out. So if you're questioning if you can show unconditional love all the time, then welcome to being a human and a parent. It's hard and it takes practice and patience. So Chapman and Campbell rounded out a list of daily affirmations to cheer you on when you feel like you want to bang your head against the wall. First, remember that they are children. And by definition, they will act like children. And most childish behavior is unpleasant for adults. We get the fun sucked out of us as we age and get replaced with not so fun stuff like responsibilities, bills, and work. But loving your children despite their childish behavior will help them mature and grow out of those childish ways. The ones that never grow out of it, the grown-ass, immature adults walking around, you could probably guess they're walking around with empty emotional tanks. Anyway, know that conditional love, loving them only when they please you or meet your expectations, will lead to low self-esteem, anxiety, anger, insecurity, lack of self-control, and inability to mature. But unconditional love will lead to self-comfort, authenticity, security, and ability to control anxiety and behavior as they grow into adulthood. Expect children to fail and remember to show patience as they grow. As parents, yes, we need to provide our children shelter, food, and clothing, but we are also responsible to foster the mental and emotional growth and health of our children. Okay, so that's all the whys and the benefits. Later we'll walk you through how to identify your child's primary languages. But first, let's take a look at the 5 love languages and what they mean. Drum roll please. Physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, and acts of service. You guys ready?
Oh my goodness gracious. All right, ready, set, physical touch. Physical touch is the easiest love language to use unconditionally, but it's also the strongest one. Sadly, the reality is many parents only touch their children when it's necessary, helping them dress or putting them in the car. But there are studies out there that prove babies and children that grew up being held, caressed, and kissed develop healthier emotional life. So more of the story is, kids need lots of meaningful touches every day, and parents should make every effort to provide these expressions of love. And I'm going to tell you how. For infants and toddlers, this is the easiest stage to provide touch because you literally have to. Babies can't walk, so you have to hold them, change their diapers, stay up with them all night long because the second you put George down, they'll scream bloody murder even though he's been in your arms for 30 minutes, past all cold, and you feel like you can't even feel your arms anymore. Anyway, sorry, where was I? Oh, touch. Touch for when they're all tiny and cute. Do things like give extra hugs, kisses, and hold their hands often. Hold them in your lap while you read them a book. Give playful touches through tickle fights and throwing them in the air and piggyback rides, if you don't have a backache all the time like me. You can also let your child hold or cuddle soft items to soothe them. Parents with kids in blankies, you've got a toucher. In school-age children, it gets a little tricky. Many boys from ages 7 to 9 go through a stage where they're resistant to affectionate touch. Some consider it feminine, so it makes it easier for parents to keep their distance from their kids at this age. But being affection resistant doesn't mean they don't need physical contact. Boys this age respond well to vigorous contact like wrestling, playful hitting, bear hugs, and high fives and solid pats on the back. Contact sports at this age is important as it also provides touch. These are games like basketball, football, and soccer. And note that girls don't usually go through the affection resistant stage, but either way, make sure you treat both boys and girls equally and do things like hug and kiss them when you leave and when they come home from school and when you tuck them in at night. Stroke your child's hair or rub their backs when they're upset, sick, or had a difficult day. Level down at eye level and hold hands during conversations, and give high fives when your child does something positive. When we get to our tweens and teens, we enter the most difficult part of childhood, their adolescence. This is when most kids pull back from touch and when most parents hold back on touch. If you have a daughter, this is especially important. Got your pen ready? During the pre-adolescent stage, around age 11, girls have a stronger need for expression of love from their fathers or any male figures in their lives. Unlike boys at this age, girls need to be extra assured of unconditional love. If a girl's love tank isn't filled by her father, she will not properly be prepared for pre-adolescent, and she may have a difficult time relating to the opposite sex. She is shy or withdrawn, she may be flirtatious and even seductive. If she feels valuable as a female, she will unconsciously have a good sexual identity and will have healthy self-esteem just to be herself. No awkward behaviors with boys, she'll have close, supportive, meaningful relationships with girls, and this all leads to her being able to stand up to negative peer pressure, having a strong hold on moral standards, and be better equipped to think for herself. Now, if touch is your child's primary love language, then conversely, the use of physical touch as an expression of anger and hostility will hurt your child very deeply. A slap in the face is detrimental to any child, but it's devastating to children whose primary love language is touch. As a parent, if you've never been touched, then it probably won't come naturally to you. But Chapman Campbell helps us break down our barriers. You can do that by practicing on yourself first. You can do arm strokes, give yourself a shoulder rub, or even massage your scalp. It feels so good. Once you do that, you can start slowly with your child by incorporating subtle touches until you can full-on bear hug without fear. Where's my bear?
The next is love language number 2, words of affirmation. In communicating love, words are powerful. Words of affection and endearment, words of praise and encouragement, and words that give positive guidance all say, I care about you. If this is your child's primary language, then remember that children think we believe what we say. Harsh words will hurt your child's self-esteem and make him doubt his abilities, even if you say something harsh just once. You might ask, but I tell my child every day I love him. Isn't that enough? Well, it depends. Babies and toddlers, for instance, they don't always understand I love you because love is an abstract concept. Little humans can't see love the way they can see their cool toys. So they have to be able to associate I love you with a feeling or physical closeness. One way to do this is to say I love you during your story time when your child's feelings are warm and fuzzy. For older kids though, they are more likely to know what words of affirmation feel like, so you have to make sure you use them correctly. Sometimes saying I love you isn't enough. So let's focus on this. When we think of words of affirmation, praise and affection usually come to mind, so it's important to distinguish the two so we know how to use them properly. Affection and love is expressing appreciation for who the child is. Praise is expressed for what the child does, either in achievement or behavior. This is something the child has control over. For praises to be meaningful and effective, it should be given only when it's both true and justified. Otherwise, they're smart enough to know you're pulling their leg, and your kids will start to see it as flattery or just plain lying. Another type of affirmation is encouragement. Sometimes we forget this, but to a child, almost every experience is brand new. So our words will either encourage them or discourage their efforts. Encouragement is about giving positive verbal reinforcement, focusing on their effort. Remember that the greatest enemy of encouraging children is anger. If your child makes poor choices, it's better to take a loving approach and express concern. This allows your child to connect and identify with you rather than feel ashamed or guilt. Also, the volume of your voice has a great influence over the child's reaction. Instead of giving commands, practice asking questions in a soft and calm tone. Would you like to help me take out the trash, please? Versus, go take the trash out. Guys, I know parenting is hard, but Chapman reminds us that parenting is not just a matter of doing what comes naturally. Every child is different, so it's important we learn to communicate differently for our children. If you find it difficult to use encouraging words, keep in mind that feeling encouraged is feeling good physically. This requires energy, which means parents need to be in the best possible health, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It makes sense. When we feel encouraged, it's more natural for us to encourage our kids. To help with words of affirmation, keep a notebook of affirmative phrases that you would like to use and record other positive words that you find. Look for opportunities to give these affirming things to your child at least 3 times a day. If your child's love language is words of affirmation, you can do simple things like put a post-it note in their lunchbox with encouraging words. Come up with special nickname that only the two of you know. Place their artwork in areas that they recognize that is important to you, like your office. And create an encouragement jar that you and your child can use to drop notes of praise and read to each other on a daily basis.
You did a great job clearly going over words of affirmation, Tapas. See what I did there? The third love language is quality time. When a child's love tank is empty and attention is the only thing that will fill it, you better believe that your child will go to almost any length to get what she needs. But even if your child's primary love language is not quality time, most children crave the undivided attention of parents. So everyone, grab your pen. Most of the time, misbehavior is an attempt to get more time with mom and dad because, just like in the press, even negative attention is better than no attention. So give them the most important thing they need, your undivided attention. Most infants receive plenty of quality time. Feeding and changing alone offer that kind of attention. But as a child grows, quality time becomes more difficult because it means major sacrifice for the parents. It's hard enough to find enough time in a day to get everything done as is. Giving a child quality time may mean giving up something else for the parents. As kids grow towards adolescence, they need attention most when parents are the most exhausted, rushed, or emotionally out of sorts. Sound familiar? But maybe this will help you. Quality time is being present for a child. It may feel like something you don't necessarily want to or can do, especially as a burnt out parent, but it means the world to a child to feel that they are important enough to have a parent all to themselves. And maybe this will help. Quality time doesn't mean you have to go somewhere or do anything elaborate. It just means being there for their physical, emotional level of development. Take a baby crawling or learning how to walk. Usually the parent is right there on the floor with them, urging them on. As they get older, they learn how to throw a ball. You're right there cheering them on. And when the world widens to include school and life lessons, it's even more important for you to be there, keeping up right with them and supporting them. Make time alone with each child to not only do things together, but as a means for knowing your child better. Something else you can do is give positive eye contact. Believe it or not, most parents only use eye contact in negative ways like reprimanding or giving explicit instructions. Quality time also creates an environment that can help children open up and have conversations about thoughts and feelings. Bedtime rituals are a perfect time to talk and create a bond. Other things that you can do to plan for quality time are make family meal times a regular routine, consider overnight trips, turn off your TV show and watch your child's favorite show with them. And look at normal routine as quality time too. Car rides, errands, household chores. This may take a little bit longer than if you were to do it alone, but the time together will make up for the inconvenience. Planning is critical because without it, you may find that you will have little quality time with your children. And you schedule other people into your calendars, why not your children? And remember that taking care of you is equally important. Planning time together also means planning time for yourself. This means ways to release stress from a long workday, clearing your mind, and finding ways to help you feel relaxed and refreshed so you can give more to your family.
All right, time for gifts. As a love language, that is, the giving and receiving of gifts can be a very powerful expression of love, not just in the moment, but many, many years later. The most meaningful gifts become symbols of love. But there is a fine line with this language. In order for gifts to convey love, the other love languages must also be given along with the gift. Many parents mistakenly give gifts while expecting something in return, like gratitude, performance, or obedience. But the true definition of gift is not an exchange for something, but an expression of love that is freely given without expecting anything in return. A gift for cleaning the room, ice cream for being quiet. These are all payments for services rendered or bribes to manipulate children's behaviors. You also need to be careful of abusing these gifts. It's tempting to shower children with gifts as substitutes for other love languages. For many reasons, parents sometimes resort to presents rather than being present. But kids, man, they are smart. They will quickly pick up on the ill-chosen, meaningless gifts. This teaches kids to be materialistic, manipulative, and can have tragic consequences for their character and integrity. Here's some ways to give meaningful gifts your child will appreciate. Carry small snacks or small candies to give out as treats when away from home. Make your child's favorite meal or go to their special restaurant. Package even the most simple presents. Make personalized coupons for some of their favorite things like spaghetti dinner, extra half hour with you before bed, or small gifts for the next outing. Give your child a song that you made up or specifically selected for them. Or think of gifts that last, like planting a tree or a computer game you can play together.
And last but not least, we have acts of service. I mean, if being a parent wasn't an act of service already, I don't know what is, right? But in all seriousness, yes, it is our role to serve our children, but not to do what pleases them, to do what's best for them. As you express your love by acts of service to your children, doing things they may not yet be able to do for themselves, you're setting an example and helping them escape their self-centered focus and help others. Think about something like laundry. If you're too busy to teach them to do laundry or too perfectionistic to let them do it, you're not loving your child, but instead crippling them. I mean, how many college students don't know how to do their own laundry? Surprisingly, a lot. Because service to a child is constant for so many years, parents can forget that daily mundane acts they perform are expressions of love with long-term effects. At times, parents can feel more like unpaid laborers than loving servants. I hear that. But try to let go of this feeling and remember that loving service is not labor. Loving service is an internal desire to give your energy to others. It is done as a gift, freely and not under coercion. When parents serve their children with a spirit of resentment and bitterness, a child's physical needs may be met, but his emotional development will take a hit. And because service is daily, even the best parents need to stop for an attitude check now and then to be sure that their acts of services are communicating love, kind of like a mileage tune-up for a car. The ultimate purpose for acts of service to children is to help them emerge as mature adults who are able to give love to others also through acts of service. In the meantime, just remember that children are naturally immature, self-centered, and cannot be expected to service others without selfless motivations. It's not their fault. So we have to be patient and we have to help them towards that goal. Make sure they feel genuinely loved and cared for. Keep that emotional love tank full. Be role models for them. And as they grow older and are able to show appreciation, gradually move from commands to requests. It's a slight difference that allows a child to feel good about expressing appreciation. Say thank you versus would you like to say thank you? Be careful in acts of service to never show conditional love. This will teach our watching children to only help others if there is something to be gained in return. That's how we get all those tit for tat folks. Do things like teach by example, open your home to others, volunteer in the community, and help your child with their requests, even if you know they can do it themselves. Sometimes it's not about enabling them, but showing them the importance of helping if we can.
Okay, now that we've seen all the love languages and know that it's important to practice all of them with our children, let's take a look on how to discover your child's primary love language. Note, it's going to take some time and your kids are going to test the hell out of you along the way. Are you ready? First, observe how your child expresses love to you. Kids love to speak their own language because that's what they want in return. Watch your child. Mommy, you're pretty, or Daddy, have a great day. This is a kid that thrives on words of affirmation. Number 2, observe how your child expresses love to others. If your child wants to take a present to his teacher, this could mean his primary language is receiving gifts. Third, listen to what your child is asking for the most. Children will make requests from all 5 love languages, but pay attention to the one that stands out the most. If your child is asking you to, look what I'm doing, playing outside together, or sit and read a story, they're asking for quality time. If they're asking you, what do you think of this? Do you like this? Does my outfit look okay? These questions are words of affirmation. Fourth, notice what your child most frequently complains about. You're always busy. You always have to take care of the baby. This is attention calling for quality time. Fifth, give your child a choice between 2 options. Do you want to go rock climbing with Daddy or go buy new shoes? They can choose quality time or gift. Give options for a couple of weeks and keep record of the choices. And number 6, if all that fails, try the simple and easy 15-week experiment. Sounds like a long time, but it's at least fairly simple. All you do is focus on the love languages for 2 weeks and observe the child's response. Then take a week off in between and repeat for the next love language. So take notes and piece it all together at the end of week 15. Hey.
All right, and there you have it. All 5 love languages and how you too can identify your child's primary language. A word of caution though, as cute as our darn kids are, they're also super selfish and don't know how to communicate in languages that aren't important to them. So if your child has a problem sharing, they probably will have problems giving gifts. If your child is a loner and likes to be alone, he's probably not going to understand someone else's needs for quality time. So when we learn to speak children's love languages, even though it differs from ours, we are showing them how to be unselfish and how to help serve others. Remember, you may truly love your child, but unless she feels it, unless you speak the love language that communicates your love to her, she won't know it. This was the 5 love languages of children. We are Kalina and Tapas, and you can click those like buttons and subscribe buttons below, but only if you want to. Thanks for being here with us today. This is Eat, Read, Sleep.